Okay, right. I think a ponytail is a bad idea. Anyway, hi everyone and welcome to my channel, Simply Maggie. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of finger knitting. I am going to be showing you how to make this adorable little baby blanket, just like a little baby doll blanket if they want to use it for their stuffed animals. I love how like kind of flimsy it is and just soft and squishy. So the yarn that I'm using is Premier Yarn's anti-pilling yarn, and it is the everyday worsted yarn, and you can use worsted yarn or you can use anything a little bit thinner or a little bit thicker will work just fine. This is in the color Chinchilla. And then the color that I used on the pom-poms, these little mini pom-poms that came out so cute, this is the color Caramel. I'm actually in the middle of making another little blanket here. I'm going to make little mini pom-poms for that one too, and I'll show you how to do that. And for the pom-poms on that blanket, same yarn, just a different color, Mist. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get right into the tutorial. You're going to need a couple of stitch markers. You could always just use like little pieces of scrap yarn if you wanted to. And I recommend pulling the strand from the center of the skein. That way it keeps it from flopping all over the place and rolling around. Here's a little close-up of the stitch that we're doing. So usually when you see people connecting finger knitting, you get what usually looks like a rib stitch. And I wanted to have the stockinette stitch, which is what you see here. So this is what I'm going to show you today, how to connect finger knitting while getting the stockinette stitch look. You're also going to notice it makes this cute little rounded edges here. So the first thing that we're going to do is cast on our stitches, and today we're going to be using all 4 fingers. Place the yarn in between your thumb and your index finger. And then you're going to take the strand and you're going to go in between your index finger and your middle finger, under your middle finger, over your ring finger, under your pinky, and then back, over your pinky, under your ring finger, over your middle finger, and then back, over your index finger, under your middle, over your ring finger, under your pinky, and then back one more time, over your pinky, under your ring finger, over your middle finger, and then around your index finger. And that's how you cast on, okay? So now that you have 2 strands on each finger, you're going to begin knitting your first row. Take this first strand on your index finger, pull it over the second one and off of your finger. And then you're going to do the same thing with your middle finger, the first strand, pull it over the second one and off of your finger. And if it helps, you can kind of bend your finger to help get it off. And then again, you're going to take that first stitch on your ring finger and pull it over the second one and off of your finger. Then we're going to take this last one on your pinky, pull the first strand over the second one and off. So now you've knit your first row. I'm just going to take this tail here and just kind of move it in between, if you can see what I did there, in between my index finger and my middle finger, and just keep it on that side of the work. That way it's out of the way. Okay, so now we have knit our first row, and we have 1 strand on each finger. We're going to knit our second row. We have our working yarn here. The working yarn is the yarn that is attached to the skein of yarn that you're using. I'm just going to ignore the tail. We're not using that. You're going to take your working yarn. You're going to go under your middle finger, over your ring finger, under your pinky, and then you're going to go back over your pinky, under your ring finger, over your middle finger, and then over and around your index finger. You always want to end up with your working yarn in between your index finger and your middle finger. And now we're going to do what we did on the first row. You're going to take this first strand here on your index finger, pull that over the second one and off. And as you can see, it's getting pretty close to the tip of my pinky, so I'm just going to scoot that down. Scoot that down. You can even just stick your fingers in between, kind of like push them down a little bit. So that was row number 2. We're just going to continue doing that until we have a total of 35 rows. So on to row 3. And now when you're finger knitting, it really doesn't matter which side you start on as far as pulling the stitches over and off. You can start with your index finger or you can start with your pinky. onto the 5th row here. So you can also start with your pinky and just pull the strands over and off. Now I'm going to show you, because you're probably thinking, how on earth do you get this skinny little thing to look like a nice wide blanket? This is where the connecting comes in. We're just going to go ahead and start knitting our next set of rows, and we're going to connect these new rows to the ones we just knit while we're finger knitting. You're going to take the work and you're just going to pull it to the side. So it's kind of curved to the side here, and we're going to start connecting these rows here by picking up these stitches on the edge. The first thing you want to do though is go ahead and place a stitch marker on your pinky. Okay? Just kind of, ignore this for now, and I'll let you know when it comes into play. You can see here we have these V shapes here, which are the stitches. So you want to start picking them up as you knit. We're going to start on the 3rd stitch from your index finger. So you want this to be kind of wrong side up. So this is the right side, this is the wrong side. So when you turn it this way, make sure your purl side or wrong side is up facing you. 1, 2, 3. We're going to pick this one up and we're going to place that right onto our index finger, just like that. So now we have 2 stitches on our index finger. And you want to make sure that your yarn is still in between your index finger and your middle finger, not over here. Now you're going to just knit this row as you were doing before when you were knitting your 35 rows. So you go under your middle finger, over your ring finger, under your pinky, around your pinky, under your ring finger, over your middle finger, and around your index finger. Now the only other difference here is you're going to have 3 stitches or 3 strands on your index finger. So you're going to just take those first 2 and pull them over that 3rd one there on your index finger. And then all the other ones are just normal knitting. So you just pull that first one over the second one, pull that first one over the second one, pull that first one over the second one. So now we're going to pick up the next stitch. So go ahead and pick up that strand here and place it on your index finger. So now that you've picked up this stitch, you're going to go ahead and cast on your other stitches. Okay, so again, you're going to have 3 stitches here on your index finger and 2 on the rest of them. So you're going to take those first 2 on your index finger and pull them over the last one and off, over and off, over and off, scoot that down, over and off. And row number 3, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to keep connecting. We're going to pick up this next stitch here. You can see that. Go ahead and pick that up and place it on your index finger. And then cast on the rest of your stitches. So this is row 3. And then you have the 3 stitches on your index finger. Pull the first 2 over and off. You're just going to continue doing that until you've connected this entire set of rows and you've knit the entire thing. You come all the way to the other end. Alright, so I am to the end here and I'm going to just connect my last row. So now that you have attached all of those stitches together while finger knitting, should look something like this. Now we're going to finger knit 3 rows but without connecting. So just like you did your first 35 rows, you're just going to knit 3 rows without connecting. So this is where your second stitch marker is going to come into play. Okay, so this time we're going to take the stitch marker after you knit those 3... Well, I guess I should go get another stitch marker because I just broke that one. Alright, let's try that again. I'm going to scoop that one out of the way here. With your second stitch marker, this time you're going to place it onto your index finger. And now we're going to start connecting and knitting rows again. But this time, instead of turning the work towards your index finger, you're going to turn it towards your pinky. This time we're going to be connecting the rows with our pinky. Make sure the wrong side is facing up. I like the curled side facing up, okay? So turn it towards your pinky, kind of swoop it around there, and we're going to start connecting. You want to start at the third stitch from your pinky. 1, 2, 3. So this third one here is the one that you're going to pick up and start knitting. Go ahead and put that right on your pinky. So now you have 2 strands on your pinky, 1 on the rest of them. You're going to take the working yarn, just kind of cast on your stitches here. Okay, so again, it should always end the working yarn between your index finger and your middle finger. And now we're going to do like we did before and just pull those first 2 strands over the third one on your pinky. First one over the second one and off, first one over the second one and off, and first one over the second one and off. So we just knit our first row, connecting it with our pinky. We're going to go all the way until the last stitch, or the stitch right before the stitch marker. And I will show you that once I make it up there. So we are at the stitch before the stitch marker here. You can see the stitch marker is on this one. So we need to just pick up and knit this one. This is what it looks like now. And now what we're going to do, just like we did before, we're going to knit 3 rows without connecting them. And now it's time to place a stitch marker. So we're going to take this one from before, take it off, and now we're going to place it on our pinky. And I just want to say that each time you place a stitch marker on, it's going to be on the opposite side of your hand of where you're going to be connecting. So this time we're going to be moving the yarn to this side of our hand, the left side of our hand where our index finger is, and we're going to be connecting with our index finger. So you would put the stitch mark on your pinky. Now if you were going to be moving the piece of work this way and connecting with your pinky, you would be putting the stitch marker on your index finger. So this time we're going to be taking the work and moving it over to this side towards our index finger, and we're going to be connecting and knitting with our index finger. And we're going to again start picking up the third stitch away from our finger. So you count 1, 2, 3. So this third one we're going to pick up and put right onto our index finger. Now we're going to do the same thing, and we're just going to continue picking up and connecting and knitting all along this edge here until you come to the stitch before your stitch marker on this end. Alright, so as you can see, we are coming up on our previous stitch marker right here. I have a few more rows to connect. Here is our stitch marker, and I have completed connecting and knitting these rows. So this is what it looks like now, and it has gotten even wider here. Now what you would do is knit those 3 rows without connecting, and then you would place your stitch marker, take this one off, and you would place it on the strand on your index finger again. And you're just going to continue doing that. You're going to move the project kind of side to side and continue connecting with your pinky, connecting with your index finger until it's the width that you want. So I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to show you how wide mine ends up and how many times I kind of went back and forth between my index finger and my pinky. And then I will show you how to end your finger knit blanket. Okay, so I'm almost ready to complete my blanket here. I am going to be connecting my rows for the last time, and it's going to be going towards my index finger. Now I do want to add just a little tip here. If you ever need to put the project down or put it aside, I like to take a stitch holder, or you can just use like a knitting needle or a pencil or anything you have, and you just take it and you slip your stitches off of your fingers and onto the stitch holder or whatever you're using, and then you can just place the stitches right back onto your fingers when you're ready to pick up the project again. So now that you have come to the last stitch here, you have our stitch marker. You can go ahead and just remove that stitch marker, and you can remove the one from the other end. So I turned my work a total of 11 times, and now I'm going to go ahead and bind off. So to bind off, all you need to do is take your index finger, stitch, and we're going to flip it over onto our middle finger. And then you take that first stitch and pull it over and off. And then you're going to take your middle finger stitch, flip it over to your ring finger, okay, and then you're going to pull it over, the first stitch, you're going to pull it over and off. Then you're going to take that stitch on your ring finger and pull it over and flip it over onto your pinky, and take that first stitch that was on your pinky and pull it over and off. So now you have this last stitch here that you can kind of tighten up on your pinky by pulling the working yarn. And then you can go ahead and trim that working yarn a few inches away, and then I'm just going to push it through that strand and pull it tight to create a knot. And that is your finished blanket. And now I'm going to show you how to make these cute little pom-poms that you can put on the end. Now this may seem strange, but for this part of the tutorial we are going to be using a fork. I'm going to be using this color. This is the color Mist. I'm going to make a total of 14 mini pom-poms. Go ahead, you're going to need some scissors. Cut 14 strands of yarn that are about maybe 4 to 5 inches long. Now this is where your fork comes in. So the reason I use a fork is because it's the perfect size to make these little mini pom-poms, and these prongs come in handy. Take your strand of yarn, place it right here in the middle of your fork, and wrap it around the center 2 prongs there. And now we're going to just continue to wrap it. You want to hold on to that strand right here so it doesn't come undone. I'm going to wrap my strand around approximately 30 times. Take one of those strands that we pre-cut, and we're going to put it between the 2 middle prongs, and we're going to push it through the 2 middle prongs on this end. You just kind of grab it there with your fingernails, pull it through, and you're just going to kind of cinch it. I'm going to place my fork down, and now you want to tie these 2 strands, cinching the center of your pom-pom. Pull it as tight as you can, and then we're going to, while holding your finger there, just slide it right off of your fork, and then pull it really tight as you can. Place your finger there to hold it nice and tight, and then tie another knot really tight. Now you can cut this from the skein of yarn. You're going to leave these strands on there because this is what you're going to use to attach it to your blanket. Take some sharp scissors, and you're going to cut all these loops on the side. So just begin cutting these little loops here. And now what you're going to do is you have kind of like this messy little pom-pom here. Just kind of fluff it with your hands a bit. This might get a little bit messy, but just kind of go around. All right, so I think that's good enough. Now if you're really picky, you can go through and make it perfectly round. So I'm going to go ahead and make 13 more of these. I'm just going to show you one just for the sake of the time in this video. I'm going to place a pom-pom on each of these rounded edges here. So that'll be 7 on each side. Find the stitch on the very corner. I insert one of the strands here. I take the other strand and I just tie them together. So don't cut them too short, but you can cut them so they blend in with the pom-pom. And then, like I said, I'm going to do one on each of these, and I will have a picture here at the end of the video of what it looks like completed. I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial today and maybe can start up a new little hobby for you. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down below in the comment section. I am always reading your comments. I respond to pretty much every single comment, which is really fun for me. Let me know what else you want me to make or teach you how to make in the future. More videos are coming. I will also link all of the products I used today in the description box. That is it for today, guys. I will see you in my next video. Bye.